So as you know, today is Father's Day and Flower Communion. And the link between the two may be tenuous, but it's there, as Marge pointed out. Norbert Chapek, by virtue of his example of integrity and his influence as a creative ritual maker, can be considered a father of our faith. And it was Chapek, after all, who gave us the Flower Communion, or at least whose board gave us the Flower Communion. And we especially on this day are living in his legacy. So we've seen the dramatic reader's representation of our Flower Communion's possible development, and here we have on our altar beautiful array of nature's color palette. Of course, you know what Flower Communion means. It means nothing. Doesn't mean a thing. In and of itself, Flower Communion bears no magical properties, no transformative power, carries no implanted divinity, nothing sacred. But that we make it so. Flower Communion is meaningless until we give meaning to it. And so we've got some work to do. We do not truck an empty ritual here. We do not bring flowers today only because it has been done by our people for the better part of a century. This tradition, this ritual, must be empowered by intention and understanding. Without thoroughly internalizing the meaning of the motions we go through this morning, and then going through those motions with that meaning jangling in our very cells, you're wasting your time here. On the other hand, thoroughly internalizing the cooperative meaning and motion of our ritual this morning opens the possibility for you to shift your perspective, increase your capacity for compassion, and invite awe into your lives. And it's up to you. So how do we do this? Well, I would say that we thoroughly internalize meaning in at least two ways: through our imagination and through our bodies. And today we get to do both. So for now, let's focus on our imagination. You may have some private variation of what Flower Communion means to you, and that is fine, as long as it is in conversation with Unitarian Universalism and general and the basic understanding of this tradition in particular. So we will riff off of this understanding for a little bit. First, consider the flowers themselves. In the ritual, in this tradition, the flowers represent us. Symbolically, the flowers are us. They are beautiful and diverse. They are creations that are themselves created or creative, packed with seeds, packed with potential, arms unfurled to let that potential fly, soaking up life. Of course, it should be noted that they are also dying. And that too reflects our own mortality. But you'll note they are no less beautiful, no less fragrant for their finitude, no less capable of creating joy in their environment. When I say these flowers are us, there is more than symbolism going on. In preparing this sermon, I had occasion to read the thoughts of a learned colleague of mine, the Reverend Gary Kowalski, who pointed out that there weren't always flowers. Can you believe that? Amazing but true. Flowers are relatively recent development on Earth. Can you imagine a time when there were plants but no flowers? As it turns out, the difference is all about seed. When plants were reproduced, they were reproduced by spores. But as Reverend Kowalski points out, and I'll quote him here, about 100 million years ago, something strange and very wonderful happened. Plants learned how to do a new thing. They learned how to reproduce through seeds instead of spores. And with the invention of seeds came all of the birds that feed on seeds, the cardinals and the grosbeaks and the finches. And the grass made the grasslands, and all the creatures that thrive on the grassland, horses and zebras and prairie dogs and antelope and deer. And plants learned how to produce fruit as a source of food for the growing seed. And the fruit, of course, also provided meals for monkeys and chimpanzees, and finally for you and me. And it all started with the rise of the angiosperms, which is the name scientists gave to flowers or plants that produce seeds and flowers and fruits. The earth took on a whole new look. Ferns were crowded out by all the amazing diversity of life we see today. And the slow-moving dinosaurs gave way, replaced by creatures who were not only quick, but quick-witted, warm-blooded, and warm-hearted, sensitive and tender, as bright and agile mentally as the flowers were brilliant in all their purples, yellows, blues, and crimsons. Isn't that lovely? It's more than lovely, isn't it? You look at these flowers and you see beauty. But now you also can see something else. You can see your creation story. Where you see the ancestors of these flowers, or what made it possible for mammals to flourish. So flowers and their marvelous seeds have allowed us to live. And in that creation story, we are invited to consider a profound truth. We are all interconnected. No flowers, no people. So we have said that these flowers represent us in their beauty, diversity, mortality, and creativity. That's the symbolism. Now we know that they enabled us, shaped us, and so in some ways are responsible for us and are us. They are also storytellers, speaking of our origins and all the way in which we humans and life as we know it came to be. And like all origin stories, this one reminds us of who we are, what we are responsible for and to. We are beings of interconnection. And all of that is just what the flowers bring to the ritual. Or rather, the flowers are here and we bring meaning, this meaning, to them. We give meaning as our offering. Our action adds another layer of meaning to their presence. We bring these flowers from our lives and release them into the lives of others as a symbolic recognition of our interconnectedness with each other and all existence. So the flowers speak to this. Our actions embody this. By exchanging these flowers, as we will do momentarily, by giving up a flower and receiving a different flower, by holding them and sensing them, our hands and our bodies now also know we are interconnected. We know it in our minds by beholding the flowers. We will know it in our bodies by bringing them here today, releasing them, and receiving them. What's more, if the flowers tell us who we are as beings, our actions, our giving and receiving of these flowers mark who we are as a people. This is where tradition kicks in. This is a tradition of our faith. It is unique, and without forsaking our sense of interconnection, it sets us apart and makes us a distinct people of faith. Here we have, by our imagination and embodiment, nothing less than identity, history, heritage, and responsibility. And we do not need to confine this wisdom to the flowers that we see here, or to the people that surround you. For now, when we behold flowers anywhere, in the garden, in the desert, far from home, or in your backyard, in the grocery store, or in Arnold's shop, we can let these examples here, this experience, shape our vision, so that in all the brightness of the seeding world, we see our interconnectivity, our dependence, our creativity and ability to live, and our diversity, and can then fall to our knees and our mind's eye and behold the world as an awesome location of interconnection. We give thanks and so celebrate and serve. We can do the same when we see each other. After all, the flowers are us. When we see anyone. Your interconnected self surrounds you. And this morning, at any rate, you smell good. So, Dr. Kepek, whenever he conducted the flower communion in Prague, would offer a consecration of the flowers, which I will repeat now. Infinite Spirit of life, we ask thy blessing on these thy messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us, amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts, to be one in desire and affection and devotion to thy holy will. May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of thy most precious gifts. May we not let awareness of another's talents discourage us or sully our relationship, but may we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do thy work in this world.